draw in the next one. And if he does it, it'll look like a smart decision. But if Hikaru wins here and ties it up for Armageddon, then that might look a little bit foolish in hindsight. The question is, and always will be, in this tournament, Dina, can Hikaru Nakamura beat Magnus Carlsen? He hasn't done it yet. He needs to do it right now.
Yeah, he just needs to put the Urchin Ergaisi mode on. And with 1b3, that's yet another Hikaru's favorite setup with the e3 and the bishop on this diagonal. I'm curious about bishop f6. Would that be certainly not the outcome that Hikaru would be the most happy with? But he does it. He gives the bishop away against the knight in the c4.
So I wonder if we're going to see d5, because to my knowledge, d5 is a very important move here, and he does play it. If you do not play d5, white brings the knight to c3, and you might never play d5. So I do think it looks a bit strange. Why bring the queen out and then all the way back? But I think it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, from my understanding, black is not supposed to have many difficulties in this variation, and I don't think Magnus has felt, in their previous game where he had black, you'd have to agree, apart from that one mistake where maybe Hikaru had a big chance, it didn't look like there was any danger the whole game.
Yeah, and well, at the same time, Hikaru is playing his favorite setup, his favorite opening. He played it in every single game in this Chessable Masters so far. So Hikaru is kind of also in his comfortable zone, and that's important when you really need to, strike. But that's interesting. Well, speaking of the pawn structure, this is different. This is a different situation from what we've seen before, because the d5 pawn has been traded. Now the bishop is gonna go to c4, probably attack f7, which is well protected, of course. But I wonder if we'll see d4 soon.
Yeah, the other thing about d4, though, is it opens the dark squared bishop very, very nicely. And you have to remember, even though we talk about Hikaru in his comfort zone, completely agree. I mean, he's a total specialist at this opening, but this opening is not viewed as a top opening for a reason, right? You're not playing this opening for a significant opening advantage. In fact, you can see that the engine is even, of course, around equal, but even teetering in black's favor. This just goes to show this is not an opening you play to generate a clear advantage, but it is something you play so you can get quick moves out and you can go for very specific targeted ideas that... outplayed.
Yep, and that's honestly a little bit sad to me, but we do still have some hope here for Armageddon. If Hikaru manages to open up the king, which he is doing right now with this f4 move, targeting the e5, and just hoping to get some checks on the dark squares. Remember, all it takes for the queen is to have an activity.
Yeah, he's definitely trying here, but there's so many ways for black to lock down this game, and speaking of lockdown, the move e4 does exactly that. e4 would be such a devastating shot, but I would say, yeah, rook e2 is more natural because he wants to bring the other rook down to d2, and then there's all the threats in the position.
Ouch. Even if you play bishop to e4, oh, f6, okay, attacking the king, hoping for the king g8 and queen c8 checkmate.
Yeah, he's hoping on basically a prayer there. King goes back to g7, and although there's queen e5 picking up the knight, you're also dropping your bishop on g2.
And walking right into a checkmate into.
Yep, and also if the king moves, white can make a draw by repeating. I think that's why Hikaru is kind of, just grimacing. He's not happy. He knows that if black, just moves the king back and forth and white checks with the queen, yeah, congrats, you made a draw from a bad position, but Magnus is more than happy with that.
Yeah, I was even thinking about, taking the pawn on e4, knight takes, queen takes, and then sacrificing the rooks with rook g2, forcing the exchange endgame for white, which would not be winning, but this is not happening. Queen f4, queen c7, are we gonna see a perpetual?
Well, yeah, obviously the eval bar is saying, wait a minute, what are you doing? You're ruining this position. But Magnus he's aware of the match situation. He knows that queen f4 is going to be 3 times after king back to g7, and he's completely happy with that. I think maybe after queen f4, king g7, he could play one more move. I'm not sure if it's exactly 3, but Hikaru, does he have better? I mean, I just can't even see any reasonable attempts here. He's worse, and his time is also expiring.
That could be the end of the Chessable Masters 2025 qualifier number 1.
It definitely looks like there's just no winning against Magnus Carlsen this event for Hikaru Nakamura.
Well, the bright side is that most likely, as you mentioned, Aman, they both are already qualified for the Esports Cup, but we would love to see just yet another game, yet another Armageddon at the very least.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting. He has one more move, but look how much time he's spending. I think this is more of a mental thing at the moment. We've definitely been there as chess players who know that things are slipping away. His time is so low that even if he tried to play on here, he would probably lose on time. So at this point, it's just coming to terms with the result and realizing that even with that Magnus Carlsen blunder, stone cold blunder of knight d6 earlier, as time ticks down, I think he will probably claim this draw.
Ladies and gentlemen, Magnus Carlsen wins the Chessable Masters 2025.
That's it. Team Liquid over Team Falcons in this one, and we are very likely going to see the rematch of that in the Esports World Cup. Do not fret, Hikaru and Magnus have more than punched their